I know the last time that I stood up here, I said I was filling Amanda's shoes temporarily. Well, today I am in Brett's, so are you impressed? Yeah. Well, don't be, because they're going back as soon as possible. But Brett can't be here today, so I am going to welcome you from all of the staff. I'm going to just remind you that this is being videotaped. We will present from the different departments our reports, and then we will close for a 5-minute break. We will come back and we will continue to video at that point, and we will ask, as you want to ask your questions, to wait for somebody to arrive so that you are speaking into a mic, because otherwise it will not be caught on our video. So those are the house rules. First of all, I will start with communications. I'm delighted to be part of several interesting and exciting projects that we're undertaking right now. One of them is we realize that we are kind of void of having some good quality material for our new owners and also prospective owners, something that's going to be impressive and also up to date and encompass everything that they need to know. So let me show you. We are doing it's probably going to end up being about a 32-page book. The book will cover, first and foremost, it will cover information for our new owners, things that they need to know, for instance, like how to get to their house. You know, some people that aren't used to gated communities don't even know what to do. So they'll learn how to get their decal, how to get their ID. They'll learn how to get their guests to their house. They'll learn how to order their new nameplates for their mailbox, that kind of thing that they just need to know. And then we cover a little bit about locations, starting with South Carolina, and then we talk about Hilton Head, and then we get very specific about Sea Pines and our great history with Charles Frazier. We talk about the structure of Sea Pines and the CSA, get into a little bit about our covenants, opportunities for volunteering and becoming active in our government. We talk about, I have a flow chart in there because our organization is a little complicated, and a visual, I think, helps people understand. So we have that. Then we go into the entities that we help to support through administration. And there's quite a few. I mean, people don't understand that we have a cemetery, that we have the forest preserve, those kinds of things that we have a hand in. We talk about our amenities. We talk about general amenities, all encompassing in Sea Pines that they can take advantage of. And then we get into our departments and we talk about all of the services that we have to offer in maintenance and security and communication so that they know what's available to them. The thing is that this could be a 100-page book. So what we're doing is we're just introducing these topics so that they know that they are available, and then sending them to our website so that they can get further detail. Eventually, the book will be posted on the website as a readable, kind of a flip book kind of thing, with all of the links active, so they can just turn the pages in there, and if they want to order mulch, they can just click on the link that will take them right to the order form and so on. So we're trying to make it easy for a new owner to feel comfortable in our community. That's not so simple. And then we are also including some maps. We're doing a new map, a map that you can read the street names on. Evidently, that's the problem with some of ours. So we're doing one that will open up into a fairly large size so that you can read the streets. It will be a street map, but part of it then will also be landmarks. So there'll be a separate, as it's folded down, there'll be a smaller map that will include the landmarks on it. So that is one of our major projects. The other thing that's going on, and you've heard me say this over and over, I hesitate to even put it on the agenda, But we are on target for early spring, and that is both of our surveys. Our community survey, purpose being to get feedback from you. We want feedback about how we're doing. We will ask you what services you use that the maintenance provides. We'll ask you what services that security provides that you use. If you don't use them, is it because you don't know about them? We'll ask you how you feel about the service and give you an opportunity to give us feedback to better ourselves. But then another really, really important part of that survey is the part where we're asking you to tell us where you want us to go in your community with additional amenities and that kind of thing. So please, when you do get this, take time and answer the questions so we know what you want. And believe me, we do listen. The other thing, the other survey will be a gate traffic survey. That survey is going to be very short, you'll be glad to know. We have whittled down the main concerns that you have about coming into the gate, the traffic. And so we will give you about 4 options to analyze, tell us how you feel about them. You will have 2 drawings for each situation or each scenario. One will be how it currently is, and then one will display what we are proposing would resolve that situation. And in each of those scenarios, you'll see that we'll be addressing the major concern, but in addressing that, we also cover and handle other concerns of lesser concern that you told us about. So one scenario may help 4 or 5 different problems that you have pointed out to us. So please, again, very important for us to know how you feel about those. Okay, it's not all I do, believe me, but it is all the major problems or projects that are going on. I'll tell you, when you step into this position, and I know it's the same on all of our staff positions, you go in and you have a list of what you're going to do that day, and at the end of the day, you look at it and say, oh, I didn't get anything done. And I have come to writing down what I've done and checking it off, just so I feel like I've accomplished something that day. So it really, it makes you a better juggler, let's say. But it's fun. It makes things interesting. And we encourage you, all of us, to please call us with your questions. We don't mind being interrupted. If you call or if you email us so that we can answer your questions, that's what we would prefer. So please keep that in mind. And also keep your email updated so that we can reach out to you also. Okay, upcoming events. We have, when I moved here about, 26 years ago, and started to get active in boards and organizations and so on, it amazed me, repeatedly amazed me, how many truly talented people are on this island. And if you stop by the Artists of Sea Pines reception tonight, you will witness that talent that we have here in Sea Pines. Amazing. If you don't have anything planned tonight, or even if you do, you have time to stop in and take a look at what they have to offer and enjoy it and appreciate it and thank them for sharing their talent. So please come and just stop in and see what they have. You won't regret it. Another thing that we have coming up is an ARB safety driver class. It is limited to 35 people because it's going to be set up in a classroom scenario because it will be an actual workbook kind of class. Some of the topics will be South Carolina law, how you can continue driving longer, things like that. If your insurance company is required to give you some kind of discount if you complete this class. You get a certificate at the end, and it's good for 3 years. Now, they don't tell you how much of a discount. And so each company may be different, and it may not be much, but it's worth certainly calling your agent and seeing what they have to offer you. So if you're interested in that, I have some flyers I'll have available at the end. It has a contact name and number to call. We cannot take the reservations ourselves, but it is on the 21st of February. The registration is at 8:30, and the class is from 9 to 1. So if you're interested, please step up and do that. Then also, we have, let's see, what are we naming it? Property Volunteer Fair. And Michael Tucker, who is the chairman of the Long Range Planning Committee, is going to come up and talk to you about that, coming up on the 14th.
Good morning. Thank you, Jean. The Long Range Planning Committee, one of our items that we talked about was transparency as one of the major issues of the future for the CSA organization. And in looking at our organization, we know that our bylaws allow us to have up to 9 property owners on each of the committees, standing committees that CSA holds. Some of our committees did not have 9. As a result of that, we decided let's reinforce that fact to all the property owners. And our intention is to fill each of those committees with the allotted 9-member property owners on those committees. We did this in February, where we tried to bring to the community, at the request of the community, how does CSA really operate? How do these committees work? And I have to tell you that after hours and hours of preparation, we were very disappointed in the response. Each standing committee made a presentation for 4 straight Wednesdays, and the highest number of property owners that came to any one session was 22. The lowest was 10. We're hoping that you have the opportunity to come to us on the 14th of February in this room, 9 o'clock in the morning till around 11. Each committee chairman will be here. They will talk about their committees. They will visit with you and learn a little bit more about you. Let's be very honest. Sometimes it's easy to fill a committee. You got an opening. You call your neighbor, nice guy. Hey, I got an opening on this committee. How about serving? We don't know if they're really qualified. We don't know if they have any interest, but we filled our committee. We don't want to do that in the future. We really want to get to know these people. I think we have 27 or 28 property owners right now from 2017 and 2018 who have signed up and said, I'm interested in possibly serving. We are anticipating many of those people to come on the 14th. We are encouraging any of you who would like to learn about the organization of CSA and how we operate and spend some time serving on a committee to simply go online, fill out the community volunteer form that's there. If you fill it out in advance, it gives us an opportunity to have each chairman know a little bit about your background. When you come to the fair, we'll know that Mr. Smith and Mrs. Jones are interested in the Finance Committee, they're interested in MEMP Committee, whatever committee they might be interested in, and it will allow the chairman an opportunity to choose people who will be able to be qualified for those committees and willing to serve for those committees. So it's a great chance for people to get more involved. We encourage you to come, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. You know, I'm having some trouble with my throat, and I should have a lozenge, and if Pink can take it out at certain times, I guess I should be able to do that, but I'm going to, please bear with me. The next on our agenda is for our maintenance, and it's Russell Fredericks, and he will report on some projects that are finished and coming up and ongoing.
Thank you, Jean. Good morning, everybody, and belated Happy New Year. Hope everyone had a happy and safe holiday season. And looking towards 2018, I certainly hope I don't see this again. You know, I got blamed roundly for this, that I brought the snow from New York City to South Carolina. And during this process, I turned to the staff and asked them, do we have a snowplow? And the answer was no. So you can see here in this middle photo, we had to resort to using some of the equipment that we had handy to us. And the storm was certainly interesting. Winter Storm Grayson ended up being more of an ice storm than a snowstorm. So we did sustain a lot of tree damage. We had crews in here for throughout the entire week, pruning trees. We thankfully the storm stopped. A couple more hours of the storm, and we would have saw increasing damage. But just want to tip my hat to the security department. They did a great job working hand in hand with us and cordoning off roadways and so forth, as a lot of these tree limbs were hanging quite low on the roadways throughout Sea Pine. So again, hopefully we don't see this for another 30 some odd years. Just wanted to give everyone a quick update on some of the projects that we're working on in maintenance department. And just throw out also, Michael mentioned volunteering for some of these committees. We do have a lot of exciting projects with MEMP throughout the season, so I do encourage anyone that has a green thumb or an interest in these sorts of projects to volunteer. The first one being Boardwalk 42A. We just repaired and redecked that boardwalk. Turned out an excellent job by our contractor. So that's been reopened to the public. Lawton Drive and Lawton Drive curbing. We just resurfaced this leisure trail that goes all the way up Lawton Drive to Lawton Road, and installed. There were some old parking blocks that were along the stretch that we took out. And then the Monarch Leisure Trail is a project that we talked about quite a few times, and we also recently completed that. We're working on the landscaping, installing some plant material over the next week or two in that area. Trolley lot number 4. This area sustained significant damage during Hurricane Matthew and Irma with saltwater intrusion. It was also infested with pine beetle. We ended up removing about 60 some odd significant pine trees in this area, as it was adjacent to the trolley lot and the leisure trail. We do plan on adding some new landscaping along that stretch, as now we have quite an open view to the homes that are behind that area. So we're working with a landscape architect to develop a site plan and appropriate plantings, and that should be coming later this spring. Other completed projects, North Sea Pines pothole repair. We did some extensive repair from Ocean Gate all the way through Lighthouse Road, as that road is in need of resurfacing and repaving in the future. And then Beach Lagoon dredging is a project that we finished up around the holidays. We removed sediment from the Middle Lagoon and West Lagoon, and that project turned out very, very well for us down there, so our contractor worked quickly to remove all that sediment. Other projects that we're working on, Boardwalk number 11, which we'll be finishing today, which is down past Tower Beach. And then we'll be moving on to Boardwalk 12. There's about 600 some odd feet of new boardwalk that will facilitate easy access down to the water. So that, again, this was a pretty complex project, but has turned out very, very well. And if you have a chance to stop down there and see it. More projects that are in progress, and actually Greenwood and South Sea Pines Drive. We're hoping to wrap this project up by the end of the week, with most major construction and paving, and our contractor is right on schedule with this. We're actually in the process yesterday installing this new landscape island, and then we'll be working on installing new signage in the area over the next few days as well. So, and again, happy to bring this project to fruition. It's going to really improve safety, pedestrian safety, and vehicular safety in the area. Greenwood Drive construction, we talked about this before the holidays. Right now we're working on with some engineers developing engineering plans, but we are still on planning to execute this project hopefully this fall if everything lines up as far as timing. and that's the full reconstruction of Greenwood Drive from Club Course to Plantation Drive. So we could all expect some rerouting of traffic delays. We're still working on a plan for traffic, so more to come as we develop that. I mentioned Boardwalk 12. We'll be starting this on Thursday. We expect that to take the next 4 to 6 weeks to complete, and that will be similar to Boardwalk 11 with a significant extension of the boardwalk all the way down to the beach. And Sea Pines Drive, I mentioned the pothole repair. And again, the roadway is in need of resurfacing, but we're planning on a survey of North Sea Pines Drive this spring from the Ocean Gate all the way to Lighthouse Road and then beyond, so we could really see where the road right-of-ways are and where we could potentially widen the road, look at the leisure trail and how the proximity of the leisure trail to the road, and see where we have opportunities to improve the roadway as well as drainage in the area. And that's it. Excuse me, couple last projects I just wanted to mention. Our stormwater crew, just want to give a quick update. We are planning on hiring additional staff and purchasing the stormwater equipment. So our crew should be out and about shortly. We're really excited about that, and they'll be out cleaning catch basin and culvert pipes throughout the property. And then our landscape enhancement projects, there's several that we're working on in the proximity of Lighthouse Road and Plantation Drive, Gull Point, and Audubon Pond Road for this coming season, as well as the Ocean Gate. And then open space mulching is something that we'll be working on throughout the season, especially this spring in preparation for Heritage. And one last thing, Gene sent out an update regarding channel cleaning that the town of Hilton Head will be performing. So there's 3 areas that they're working on currently. Starting next week, that will be in Club Course area, Tupelo Road, and over by Sweet Gum Lane. So if anyone has questions afterwards, we could try and answer those. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Russell. I'm David Henderson, your Director of Special Projects and Operations, and I just wanted to start by reinforcing Gene's comment earlier. It's great to see such a full house, lots of familiar faces and some new ones as well, so welcome to you all. You know, we started over 2 years ago with a very intensive process of evaluating our signage, seeing what was wrong, and proposing things that could make it better. And when we did our evaluation, one of the things we found was that some of the materials that we were using just were not the right material. They weren't holding up over time, which is additional maintenance and additional expense. Plus, it just doesn't look good when you have pieces of a sign hanging off. And so we developed this family of signage. We have gotten it approved by ARB so that within our family, once we have ARB approval, when we replace specific signs, as long as it is within the previously approved family, we don't have to go back to them. And you may have seen some of this as we begin to implement, and we've been doing this for the last couple years, and it's going to continue for the next several years. The first member of the family that you may have seen was a couple years ago when Fraser Circle was redone and those 4 signs went in. Just to give you an example of how some of the materials have changed, we've always had these louvers, which previously were made out of sign foam, and you could easily damage or knock a corner off of one of those. We have a finial detail on the post that previously had been cut out with the miters and dados being put in with the radial arm saw, time intensive and not particularly safe. Currently, and we had different size louvers depending on the size of the sign. Now all of our louvers are componentized. They are all exactly the same. The bigger signs may have 2 sets. The smaller size signs may have 1 set. In the case of the sign to the far right, it only has 1 louver, but they're interchangeable. They're all now the same size. They are now made out of PVC and should last for many years. The finial on top, which used to be a detail that had to be manually cut out, this is a PVC piece, and the post has just cut straight. and then that PVC piece is attached to the top and attached with a couple screws, and it will last a lot longer and looks exactly the same as it did before, but it's much, much easier and much, much less labor intensive to do. We've used PVC on these panels. We've changed the backer board, again, addressing issues that we've seen in the past. So this is part of our family here. This past year, so the first year, 2 years ago, we did Fraser Circle. This past year, 2017, we replaced all of the major intersection signage, and then we replaced the signage at the gate. So some of you may recognize some of this. This year, our first priority is going to be to replace all of our beach access locator markers. This is on the landward side of all of our beach walks. So the town has signage identifying the number on the beach side. This is on the landward side, or what you would see as you drive down primarily North Sea Pines Drive and South Sea Pines Drive. And what we've done here is introduced all of these same components that we have in our family, but we are consolidating signs. And if you're familiar with any of these beach walks, you will see anywhere between 1 and 3 signs currently that display various messages, such as the number, so you know what beach walk you're on, no parking in certain situations, and pedestrian access, please walk your bike. And those are being displayed currently on separate signs. And this one sign shown here on the right integrates all that into one sign, so that we will have the beach marker number, which is something that the fire department really wants. Same finial detail, same louver detail, 6x6 post, and this louver is 4-sided, and so it'll have a message on each side that is appropriate with the direction that it's facing. And we think that they look better, they'll be more consistent with our new signage, and at the end of the day, there will be a reduction in the number of actual signs that are out there by consolidating them all into one. So you're going to see that sooner than later. And then this year, we will then begin the process, as time and budget allows, of upgrading all of our leisure path stop signs. And that process will begin this year, and then we'll roll into next year. We have a couple hundred of those, just to give you a sense of the scale. Everywhere the leisure path crosses a roadway, you have one stop sign on either side. So there's a fair number of those, and it's going to take us the next year or two to go through that process. And then you will continue to see over the years, as old signs need to be replaced, they will be upgraded, they will be replaced and upgraded to the new standard. So again, signage is something that when it really, you get used to it, I guess, when you're here. As a visitor, you are often relying on these signs, and you notice things that were not good with the previous signage. And I know being here all the time, a lot of it gets, you get used to it. And what has really been useful for me is I always take before and after pictures, and I'll go through some of the old before pictures, and I'm just shocked at how bad some of our signage was. And we hope to continue to upgrade that over the next few years. I didn't want to be outdone by Russell, so I had to throw in a snow picture. These are the Six Oaks at Six Oaks Park, which is located behind Six Oaks Cemetery. But that's all I had, and I appreciate your attention, and thank you.
Toby will be up next, Safety and Security Director, and he'll give you some updates about his department.
Thanks, Jean. Good morning. Real quickly, I will go through this. One event we do have coming up that's not as big as the Heritage, but it's one day. Wine Fest is March 10th, Saturday, March 10th, in Harbor Town. So be on the lookout for that. Quick update. Security-wise, we're doing good for the most part. We have had some thefts in the Calabogie area, and it's construction equipment and materials that's been taken from a job site. Last night we had items stolen from boats inside of Harbor Town. Where we were quiet there for quite a while, I guess the weather's changing, things are picking up. So if you have stuff under construction, whatever, please keep an eye on it. One quick thing that I have been mentioning for several months in a row is speeding. I'm not going to tell you that if you're doing 20 miles an hour above the posted speed limit, you're probably not going to get a warning in Sea Pines. They're going to write you a ticket and take you to state court. They're not cheap. You have to slow down. Once you get the ticket, you can't call my office because I'm not fixing a ticket. I'm not in that business. I'm telling you, slow down. We have been writing tickets that have been 20 and some 40 miles an hour above the posted speed limit. So I've got no sympathy for you. We're going to write you a ticket. So you got to slow down. Everybody's in a hurry. 35 is our fastest speed limit. So please slow down. Trolley season is just around the corner. We have finalized the trolley schedule. We've made a few modifications, but for the most part, same stops. We did alter some times because we had, the last thing we want to do is operate the trolleys and no one's riding them. So the system we have, the Synchromatic system on the trolley, helps us determine when we need to move the trolleys. So that schedule's been set. The schedule has also been set for the tournament. Same pickup locations during the tournament. We are renting 5 additional 15-passenger vans that will assist the trolleys during the tournament. So they'll be running. We are making some time changes during the tournament week for sure. Thursday through Sunday, when actual tournament play starts, we had the trolleys running at 6 in the morning because there were balls in the air at 7 a.m. Not too many of you are up at 6 o'clock riding the trolley, so we're going to move that time frame back to better fit when we actually had ridership. So those schedules you'll be seeing, we sent those to the printers yesterday. Wildlife issues. We have a service. It doesn't cost you anything. If you have a rodent, coon, armadillo, possum, if you have some kind of animal, alligator, causing you a problem at your property, we will take care of that. We've been licensed by the state. We'll do all that for you, the removing, the trapping, everything. What we have is we've had someone shot a deer this year. We've also have someone shooting raccoons and armadillos, and they're throwing them in the Heritage garden area. If you get caught shooting an animal, you're going to get charged. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you've got an animal issue, we will take care of that for you. Sometimes security, we have to put an animal down. That happens. Someone hits a deer, the deer's injured. That's the nature of the course that we employ. But you cannot discharge a firearm inside of Sea Pines to kill an animal. So if you know of someone that's shooting raccoons and squirrels in their backyard, we're going to charge them because I've already contacted DNR. We're going to report you. We have a service that doesn't cost you anything. If you start the animal trapping process yourself, you're responsible for it till the end. You can't get into a situation where you've got an issue that you've created and dump it in my lap. I do it for free. You don't have to do anything. If the raccoon's in your trash, I'll take care of it. But we will do it the way we handle it. You can't go create something that I get to deal with later, or the security staff. So it's a free service, doesn't cost you anything, and we do trap a number of animals. So please don't shoot the wildlife, because I will tell you, you probably will go to jail if the DNR catches you shooting an animal, and it's a very expensive ticket, and it is absolutely not worth it. If you have firearms, and I know many of you do, and you don't want firearms in your home anymore for whatever reason that you decide, please don't throw the firearm in the garbage can. That's not safe disposal of a firearm. You call me, I'll take care of all that. Medications, I am working with Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. You've seen these listed before in the island packet where I want to host in Sea Pines. If you've got a gun that you don't want anymore, we're going to create a bin for you. You can stick inside the bin and drive off. No questions answered. Same for the medications. If you have medications, don't flush them down your toilet. Don't throw them in the garbage can. We're going to create a site where you can bring those and we'll dispose of them the proper way. So please don't deal with those, especially the firearms. Don't throw them in the trash can. Lyft. I have been effortlessly trying to get someone in management from Lyft. If everyone's familiar with Lyft, they're the counterpart of Uber. Same scenario, you operate it off your phone. We've been working with them, trying to get an agreement for the lift operators, because we do have property owners using Lyft. We have no agreement with them. They're a commercial operator. When they come in, it costs them $10 to get through the gate because they're a commercial operator. That's what the fee is. So we are working with them. So don't get upset if the driver says, look, it cost me $10 to get in, because that's what they're absolutely paying. They're completely different than Uber in the contract and agreement we have with them. So we are working towards that. Tournament. My wife, as many of you know, is the marketing director for the Heritage, and I'm happy to say that I'm the first one to get this press release. And I think all of you will be really excited about it. RBC has announced a new ambassador. Anybody have any idea who it might be? It's the #1 player in the world, Dustin Johnson, who will tee it up in Harbortown this year. So that's good news. He is a South Carolina native, and the last time he played here was in 2009 as an amateur. So he will be the new ambassador for RBC and will play in the tournament this year. So let's talk tournament real quick. It's April 15th through the 19th. Tournament hang tags. Sarah, where you raise your hand? Sarah's in the back. We're going to start the tournament hang tag distribution on March 26th. We're going to do all the property owners and the rental agencies all at the same time. That's 2 weeks prior to the start of the tournament. If you have questions about whether or not you need a hang tag, on the table outside I have about 20 sheets of all the locations that require tournament-issued hang tags to get you to your property. If you are not going to be here for the tournament and you have a rental property and it's within the area of Harbortown that we issue the hang tags to get you through, and you're going to let your rental guests use the hang tag, you need to email Sarah with the name, the actual name of the people who can pick up the hang tags on your behalf. The hang tags go to the property owner or to the rental agency. You have to approve that. We had a mess last year where we had a house that was rented for 2 days. The cleaning people come in, then new people came in. You only get a certain amount of hang tags. We're not going to issue them out from person to person. That's your responsibility. It's not ours. We will give you the hang tag. Your guest can bring the hang tag back to our office, and your new guest can pick them up from us. But we're not in the business of issuing multiple hang tags to a property that only gets 2 hang tags or 3 or whatever the case may be. So we will work with you on that, but we do ask for an email in advance of that. There's not going to be any changes as far as the tournament this year. The roadblocks will start on Monday morning around 6 a.m., and they come down when the last ball is holed out all week long. The tournament tickets will get you into Sea Pines free of charge after 6:30 p.m. There is no access into Sea Pines or to Harbortown. Last year, we had the cabs, Uber, and anyone in the transportation business dropping off people at the bakery in Harbortown, which is where we've traditionally have done this for probably 12 plus years. That was a mess. We're removing that. Uber and cab drop-off is going to be right outside here at the bank. So it's the same distance of walking from the bakery to the clubhouse it is from this location at the bank, but you can't call an Uber, or your friends that live in Wexford that want to come to the tournament. They can't call Uber and get dropped off in front of the clubhouse. So tell them to bring their walking shoes. They're going to right here at Sea Pine Center. We had last year during Thursday through Sunday, we had 75 Uber drivers operating in Sea Pines. There was 3,700 trips during the week Uber last year. We can't have all the Uber and transportation people inside of Harbortown when we have players and caddies that we're trying to get to the tournament, and we've got a transportation mess. So we're pulling that out of Harbortown. It's going here. You can take the Uber and have it wherever you're from. You can drop it right here or a cab, but you can't go into the Harbortown at any point. If you are a property owner staying inside that footprint where the roadblocks are at, and you have a plane that you need to catch, and you've got transportation needs where someone has to come pick you up and get you out, you need to call the security department, because Uber's not going to show up at a roadblock and say, I'm going to Miss Jones's house because she's got a flight. We're not doing that, because every Uber driver knows just pull up and say, hey, I'm going to Jones's. Yeah, we're not doing that no more. Give us a call. We'll get whatever transportation needs you need to your house. and get that taken care of. If you're having a party, we're not issuing 20 hang tags inside the footprint of Harbortown for your guests to come to your house to park. Your guests have to figure out how they're getting to your party, whether that's going to Honey Horn, riding general transportation and getting dropped off in Harbortown. They take Uber and get Uber here. I've got a call yesterday from a property owner living inside the footprint who's rented their house out and told the guests that they could host a party Friday during the tournament. She wants 22 hang tags. You can imagine how this conversation went after that. She's not happy, and I'm sure she's calling the property owner today. So please, we don't have the ability to be able to do that. It's so congested inside of Harbortown. We want you to have a party, but you got to plan that out of how the people are going to get there. We will extend our office hours during the week of the tournament, Monday through Friday. We're there 7:30 to 5, and on Saturday and Sunday, the week of the tournament, 8 to 3 on Saturday and 8 to 2 on Sunday. We will have bicycle access. We're creating more bike racks inside of the Harbortown, so if you want to ride your bike during the tournament, you can. If you're a property owner that are your guest or a rental guest that cannot drive or walk or ride a bike to the tournament, you can take your vehicle to the trolley lot, lots 1 and 2, and the tournament transportation will take you down to Harbortown and drop you off. So if you're not in walking distance, go there. It's a free ride, doesn't cost you anything. And I think I've kind of covered everything. If you are unsure, please, I would ask you that you take a sheet, pass it out, distribute of the hang tags that's required, because last thing we want is if you're renting something and your guests show up and they have no clue of where they're supposed to go. And but I look forward, we'll do some more updates about the tournament as it gets closer. Oh, and I just about forgot here, which is a thing that I think all of you would want to attend. February the 18th, which is a Sunday, between the hours of 2 and 4, there's going to be a countdown. It's the 50 days prior to the tournament. It's going to be a party hosted by the Heritage Classic Foundation at Harbortown. If you haven't been down there, the Harbortown has changed its colors. There's going to be a party. It's mainly for the tournament volunteers. So if you're a property owner and you want to get involved and you're new, it's a great program to get involved with the tournament, to come and volunteer. To be honest with you, from the tournament staff and from the security staff, they couldn't run the golf tournament without the volunteers. There's 1,200 of them. This party is for them. It is open to the public. There'll be food and beverage. There'll be a band playing between the hours of 2 and 4. There is no parking in Harbortown because there's nowhere to park. So if you want to go to the function, go to the trolley lots. The tournaments are running the 55-passenger buses. They'll take you right into Harbortown, drop you off. So hopefully we have good weather and it'll be a really good time down in Harbortown. So come celebrate the 50th anniversary of the tournament. Thank you.
It's good you remembered that, or you shouldn't probably go home tonight. We will conclude our formal program, take about a 5-minute break, and then come back and take your questions. So enjoy. Of art, but if you need a little push, there will be wine and hors d'oeuvres. Just saying. All right, we are fortunate that the two of the gentlemen from the resort have come to answer questions about some of this parking that you've had questions about. They have done a great Q&A, and I hope that you link and click on that and look at those. But they are here to answer your questions in person. So I have to look at the names because I've just met them, but it's John Monroe and Paul Godomsky. I knew I would blow that.
So I assume everyone got our correspondence that went out. I think it was last Tuesday, last Monday, I think. So we're here to answer any questions that you have regarding it. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Sue.
Is overnight rental guests, and yet you have cut them off.
Well, I wouldn't say we cut them off. There's actually, if you go back to, well, first of all, let me back up. The reason we did this and put this in place is over the years, we've heard comments from good property owners that they're going to the beach club and they can't park, and they're having to walk from the plantation club over. So we went back, we actually been looking at this for over a year, went back, looked at the covenants, and decided that we would offer property owners priority and exclusive parking at the Sea Pines Beach Club. And we would do the same with our guests. So there's actually 8 groups identified in the 1977 covenants that have, it's called right of access. And those people have right of access to the first 50 spaces at the Sea Pines Beach Club. And right of access is complimentary right of access. That includes everyone. Basically, it's any overnight guest in Sea Pines, including property owners, including Sea Pines Resort guests, including anyone overnight guests in Sea Pines. Then after those 50... With the exception of, yeah, thank you, Paul. With the exception of day pass, basically any overnight guests. After the 50, then property owners are going to have exclusive and priority parking at the Sea Pines Beach Club, complimentary parking, along with Sea Pines Resort guests, along with 2 other groups that are identified, actually not in the covenants, but in other agreements, which is Harbortown Yacht Club members, and of course slip owners who are property owners. So the other rental guests still have access. They pay the $10 to help us recoup the $40,000 that we spend in providing service, attendance over there. And they can also take the trolley, which is underused, and we heard this from Toby. We'd like to have more people using the trolley. And also protect some spaces at the Plantation Club for our guests playing golf and our guests using our restaurants. So. Right. Beyond that, yes, charging $10. Correct. So you agree with that? She doesn't. Okay.
So understand, this problem, sorry, my apologies. So understand that this problem has grown organically over time, right? Understand that this problem has grown organically over time. Okay, How are you? So understand this problem has grown organically over time. We have 158 parking spaces over at the Beach Club, and in trying to accommodate everyone over time, we've expanded to this overflow parking lot over at the Plantation Golf Club. So, and as you know, our expenses have been increasing over this. So there were 2 goals when we sat in our strategic meetings at the beginning of the 4th quarter in 2017. Was what are some of the pain points that we're experiencing, both from the feedback we've received from you and the feedback we've received from our guests. And parking was one of the #1 issues. So we took this as a subcommittee to address this parking issue at the Beach Club. And based upon your feedback, based upon the feedback of our guests, based upon the feedback of those $6 daily pass people who were complaining about the parking situation, like, wait a minute, you can't park here anyway. So we realized, this has been an elephant in the room for a very long time, and I think we've been guilty of trying to please everyone all the time, and I think we can all agree that's not a successful strategy. So what we're trying to do with this is go back and put the stake back in the ground as far as what was the common agreement. And that's what we've had. So over the years, if you look at providing the transportation, shuttling, back and forth, the cost of maintaining the parcels, both at the Beach Club and at the Plantation Golf Club, make sure they're looking nice, right? The taxes, the maintenance, the staffing. This was approximately $40,000 that we're having to spend. And so let me be perfectly 100% clear. This is not a revenue generating opportunity for us. That is not the goal of this. When we left that meeting, there were 2 goals. Improve the Beach Club parking experience for our neighbors and for our guests, and cost containment. That was it. That was our two goals in driving this improved beach club parking experience.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you, Paul. Oh, yeah.
Actually, this is a question for Toby.
Okay.
A question. No, it relates to what you guys are talking about. It's directed, though, at Toby, which is you're trying to solve a parking problem. Don't have a problem with that. Some of these folks might. You're going to create another problem with the $6 day pass people not having a place to park. You're going to push that problem out away from the beach club along South Sea Pines and North Sea Pines Drive. Has our security folks, have they thought about or begun to put in place a plan to deal with the overflow parking as the day pass folks who don't have right to access to the beach through our beach paths are going to start filling up the T streets and parking along South Sea Pines like they did last year?
The parking plan in Sea Pines is still in committee. If there is a parking issue on a T Street where a car is sticking out in the roadway, we address that. As the call comes in, we dispatch an officer down to deal with that. We are encouraging the daily guests when they come in, if they want to ride through Sea Pines, they want to go to South Beach, they want to go wherever they want to go, is to go to the trolley lot and get on the trolley. Because we take the trolley right from the trolley lot to Harbor Town. It makes a stop here at Sea Pines Center, and then they can go anywhere. So we are encouraging them to use the trolley system. So to answer your question, parking-related issues, we will respond to and deal with. You cannot block the roadway. We do have streets, and I've said this before, we have streets that you can pull off the road and not cause a problem. The T streets, I don't think there's any T street that we really can shoulder park anywhere along the roadway.
Okay, yes, sir.
I hope that you all listen carefully to what you've just been told, because I'm going to give you some facts. Now, these facts relate to the resort and parking and gaining permission for building and illegality, and I don't think either of these two gentlemen were involved with that. So my remarks are directed toward you as representatives of the resort. When the resort went to the town to gain approval for the reconstruction of the Plantation Club, they were not in compliance with the Land Management Ordinance, the LMO, which required approximately 100 more parking spaces than they were providing for. Yet it was allowed by the town. Furthermore, when they went to gain approval for, I forget, Sue, what they called it originally, the beach club or the whatever, it ended up being a beach park, they were constructing at least 50% more building space than had been present before, and they reduced the parking availability by about 15%. Now the real hooker comes here. What the director of planning for the town did was totally illegal. He did it right in front of me. This is not apocryphal. This was face to face. And what he did was, he went back to the resort and said to them, in order for us to do this, I'm going to need a reassurance from you that the parking you're going to have at the beach club is going to be adequate for the need, because we're permitting you to have fewer spaces than are allowed legally, far fewer spaces. I think it was about 75. And the resort reassured him that, one, in their experience, there never had been a parking problem at the beach. Got that? There never had been a parking problem at the beach. And two, with a 50% larger building and 15% fewer parking spaces, there would not be a parking problem at the beach. And yet you heard what these guys said. They made a mistake. They were telling the truth. Now, I would like their response to that.
Well, we weren't involved.
I said you
It's
weren't.
not a fair question for us. We weren't, we would have to respond appropriately. I wasn't involved in what you just described. Paul wasn't involved, to my knowledge. So it's
Okay,
it's
look,
not a fair
guys,
question, honestly.
No, wait a second. That's fair because I said you were not involved.
Okay.
However, let us have a response at the next coffee as to the issue I just raised. This doesn't get shoved under the table.
Thank you,
We need
Carl.
an answer to this.
Thank you for your comments. These gentlemen have given up time to come and answer questions specifically to the beach parking, so could we please make good use of that time and ask questions related to that?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Both of the questions that have come forth actually address a problem that we've had, which is day visitors. And my question to you, this summer, have you prepared signage and information that is going to explain to all the people that come in and pay $6 that they cannot park there? And furthermore, I think that, this problem that began at the construction of the beach club has got to be addressed, not on a step-by-step Band-Aid process, but an overall change in the way Sea Pines manages the people that we let into our plantation.
Yeah, good question. Actually, we've had staff attendance monitoring the beach club for a long time. We actually have 4 to 6 at the plantation club and 1 to 2 at the beach club, and we have never let day pass, people spending $6 to park there during the summer. They've never been permitted. Now, could someone have slipped through? Perhaps, but we've never allowed them to park at the beach club. Never. No, that's absolutely
I'm sorry,
correct.
both of my boys work at the beach club, and they get to know their tables, and I can promise you, you have a lot of $6 parking people who park at the beach club.
Yeah, it's a good point. So $6 gate pass, they can park at the plantation club if they're playing golf, obviously, in our golf courses, or if they're in our restaurant. Okay, someone's coming in to play golf and they're staying, say, at the Westin. They would come down, they would pay the $6, they would come and park at the beach club, and they would play golf on our courses. Plantation Club, I'm sorry, Plantation Club. So they have access, obviously, to park and to play golf or to go in our restaurant. So whether they parked there and walked over, I'm not sure, but.
If I could just add to that. So we only staff the gates for a certain period of time during the year. So there may be peak days that pop up and parking at the beach club becomes full. And so that's where we may have this competition of those day pass people parking in the beach club parcel, potentially.
Well, I think rather than talking about seasons and days, we actually need to, as a community, address the $6 day visitors that are coming in and where they go, where they're allowed to go. Because no matter what season, I don't believe they're allowed to park at the beach club, are they?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. But I promise you, we don't knowingly allow people who spent $6 to park at the Plantation Club, at the beach club, and I walked it many times in the summer, just checking, and I don't see any of them. We never have. Now, it could have happened that they slipped through, but we haven't in the past, so. Okay.
The second part of the question, just the day trippers, when they come in, are they gonna be notified that you can't park a certain place, they got to stay at?
Toby, what, can you?
Just so they're not wandering around, oh, we can't park here anymore, look where we're gonna go.
The day pass says on the pass that there's no beach access in Sea Pines. It's written right on the front of the pass. Now, if all of their golfers, to include Harbortown golfers, someone playing at the Plantation Golf Club, are on a day pass. They come in to pay the $6 and they park at these facilities where they're playing golf at or having lunch.
Yes, ma'am.
The covenant says the general public is prohibited from use of the beach club site. That's got nothing to do with the golfers. They can be at the Plantation Club. But if they are the general public and they are in to play golf, they are not in to, it doesn't matter. They're a guest of the resort to play golf, not to use the beach club. All beach club access within Sea Pines, including the beach club, is not for the general public.
So I believe that applies to the first 50 parking spaces that are allocated.
If you read the covenant, it says the general public is prohibited from use of the beach club site. They are not one of those with right of access at all. They do not have right of access. Right. They aren't even allowed to use your restaurant, but you let them.
Okay.
They're not enforced.
All right.
I think what we did, because we did look at our counsel who advised us on the review of the covenant. So I think what we need is let us take this, let's take that back, and so we can review that also. But as far as we were advised, the right of access applies to the first 50 spaces. Again, please, the remaining 108 spaces at the Beach Club parcel and the roughly 100 spaces over at the Plantation Golf Club parcel are at our discretion on how we allow that. So understand, but please let us take this back. Okay. Understood, but let us take that back, and we'll get clarification on that.
I would like to take maybe 2 more questions related to this, because we have to be fair and cover other topics that people have come to question about. So 2 more questions, yes. Back in the back row there.
Good morning. I just had a quick clarification question. The 158 spaces, does that include handicap as well as the real estate parking that's reserved up there?
Yes, it's the total.
Do you know the breakdown of that?
No, I do not.
We can get that information for you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Regarding rent and overnight renters, is there a right of access difference between those who rent via VRBO or other agencies and/or those who rent through Sea Pines Resort managed properties?
Well, Sea Pines Resort managed properties, the properties that we manage are included in the first 50, and also
And the 108.
and the 108 and the Plantation Club.
Right.
So they have right of access and complimentary parking. Okay. Your question is VRBO guests, is that what you're saying?
Yes, or those that rent through other.
Through other rental company are included in the first 50 complimentary space. No, that's correct. They're included in the first 50 spaces. There's 8 groups identified in the covenants, and it includes overnight. Basically, really how we look at it is overnight guest of Sea Pines Resort. But there's 8 specific groups, and the first 50 spaces includes all of those groups, including property owners, including guests to Sea Pines Resort.
And then the other 108 spaces excludes overnight renters renting through VRBO, et cetera.
Right, that's right.
But they can park at the Plantation Club and pay.
The $10, that's correct.
Okay, that's not really clear in either the question and answer page or the other information that's gone out, so, or at least it wasn't clear to me on several reads.
All right, if, I'm sorry it wasn't clear, yeah, thank you.
I have posted their information, their contact information on the website, so I would encourage you to, I'm sure you will take the questions that they have through that. Is that all right?
One other comment. Paul and I have received a lot of questions from property owners, and on the letter that we sent out, there's a link, which is an FAQ, and many of those questions resulted from people not seeing the link and not reading the FAQ. The FAQ really explains it thoroughly. And once we have told property owners, hey, if you don't mind going on the FAQ, many cases I've just scanned it and sent it to them. It answers all their questions.
How are you going to monitor all this?
We have,
It's like a nightmare.
no, well, it's a good question. We have four to six individuals, Memorial Day to Labor Day, from about 8 to 4, 8 to 5, that are at the Plantation Club. That's what we've had for the past, I can't even remember. And then we'll have 1 to 2 at the Beach Club. So we have 6 to 8 people down there with golf cart shuttles and attendants and so on, Memorial Day to Labor Day. Yeah, so our concern is actually not that, so. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thanks.
I'm sorry if you didn't all get your questions, but we do have to move on to some other topics. And there is an avenue to go directly to them and ask your question, so I don't feel like you won't get it answered. So let's move on. Another topic?
I have a question for Dave Henderson. You said you were going to be replacing the stop signs on the leisure trail. Why not replace them with yield signs, since no one stops for those stop signs? And children are learning how to disrespect the various signs of authority. A yield sign would make much, much more sense. Why not do that?
Carl, to answer your question, I'm over here, Carl. We rely heavily on our engineers on to what the proper signage is based on the specific situation. So I will bring that to their attention and ask, but I will ultimately defer to their good professional judgment.
Chris?
I don't call.
Oh, you don't call?
Just give them the mic.
I thought the presentations were great, thank you very much. I just have one question. My wife and I are farmers, so we're down the Heritage Farm almost every day. And looking across the road, we see a tremendous amount of activity going on at the stables, which is great. Have you an update on the status of the stables, please?
Do you have any knowledge of that? That is a resort.
Well, that's why I
Question?
wanted to ask the question before it disappeared, because it was a contentious issue last year, and it looks like it's been very satisfactorily resolved, which is great for the community.
Okay. I encourage you to contact them and let us know if you want something put out.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
And then if I may add to that, do not have anything official, but I have been told that there should be some announcement soon by the resort as it relates to ownership of the business there at Lawton Stables.
Thank you.
Hi.
The lady back here, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I don't know, that hand was waving pretty vigorously.
I thought I had a cloak of invisibility on today or something. But my question's really ancillary to the whole discussion about parking. We spend a lot of money every year on a trolley that is grossly underutilized in the summer months. And I don't understand what our reluctance is to require day pass holders in the summer to park in a lot and take a trolley. Is there any consideration being given to that? Who do we need to bring that to? I mean, if we go to Disney World, we park where they tell us to park. That would solve a lot of these other issues people are concerned about illegal parking on T streets and such.
Yes, that very issue is being discussed at the Safety and Security Committee. It's been brought up before, which sounds like a great plan, but when you look at the hours of operation of the trolley, there's going to have to be vast improvements made to those trolley lots to send someone from the general public, because if you get the opportunity tonight, ride into the trolley lot and see how dark it is. I mean, there would be significant improvements made to that. So can it be done? It's being looked at with the committee. Oh yeah, it would. We would, based on the numbers of what we pulled from the gate, looking what would actually go to the trolley lots, we wouldn't have to add additional trolley vehicles because there would be a line of people just sitting there because the trolleys is 25 people at a time. So at some points we would overstress the trolleys, but that is still in committee.
Gentleman in the back here.
I don't know if this is the right place to bring this up, but it's on signage. Could we have, I don't know if you know this, but every time that you turn left or right, you're supposed to use your blinker. It's against the law if you don't use it. And I would suggest maybe to have a couple of signs at the beginning of plantation and at the end of plantation, please use your blinker when you're turning.
Yeah.
Are deer being culled in?
David's popular today.
So the question was, are deer being culled in the community? And the answer is yes. We've had an active deer management program since 2001. And we have, almost without exception, done some type of maintenance level culling every year since. This past year was an exception because of Hurricane Matthew. But we are back on schedule, and the work that was permitted to be done for this year has recently been completed.
How many are you allowed to take out?
The number of deer that we take each year is based on a variety of factors, including an annual population census that we do that's done in the late summer. We will also factor in the number of deer vehicle collisions that security is able to document, as well as the number of complaints that we may receive, normally on landscape depredation. But to specifically answer your question, the average number that we have taken during this maintenance period has been around 35 or 40, but with taking last year off, this year's removal was for 50 deer.
So people shouldn't be walking their dogs in the middle of the night?
The question was if you should change your activity, knowing that there is deer management activities that occur. No, you should not. You should do what you normally do, just as everybody's done since 2001. There's no need in your behavior or movement patterns.
Thank you, David. Dana?
I have a question for Russell. I was very pleased with your presentation and to hear that we were hiring 2 more people to do stormwater drainage cleanup. And I'd go back to a question I've asked several times over the last year. Could we please digitally publish the stormwater drainage study? And could we have a schedule of what has been done so far and what will be done in 2018? The new FEMA maps really rely on the successful use of our stormwater drainage in large storms to keep our designations high. A lot of us move from an A7 zone into an X zone, which is great, but we have to have a stormwater drainage system that we know is going to work. So I know a lot of my neighbors were very concerned with that, and we want to hear more about what you're doing.
In regards to the hydrology study, we have just received an update from our engineer who performed the study, so we're still analyzing all that information. In regards to the stormwater crew, as I said, we're adding to our staff. We're purchasing quite a bit of equipment to complement that staff so we can go out throughout the community and properly clean culvert pipes, catch basins, and so forth. In regards to what we've accomplished so far, we can certainly work towards providing that update. There's a lot to do. There's $30+ million of pipe replacement or slip lining on pipes to be done over the next 25 years. So it's no small task. There's a lot to catch up on. Quite frankly, it's a monumental task, but we're working closely with the town. The town this year has $650,000 budgeted for control structure repair as well as ditch cleaning and repairs to the Lawton pump station, which will be completing this spring sometime. So, and then.
In that study, there was priority, urgent, second tier, and
Yeah, certainly, in regards to your question, we could work towards providing some of those updates. Again, we just received the most current update back from the engineer, so we're still digesting that information, and we'll go from there. So, okay.
Back in the back?
Yes, this is more or less going to be for Dave Henderson. He's shaking his head. It's a comment and a question. Recently through social media for the Sea Pines homeowners, we learned that there's going to be procurement of beach access mats for Tower Beach, which I got to tell you is greatly appreciated, especially by my wife and myself. And I know there are other people that we have been in communication with that face the same challenges we do. But the second question, the question really is the second part of that. You know, great to have the access down further, closer to the beach, but then there's the wheelchair accessible chairs that are available out there. Some property owners, including ourselves, have actually come forward and said, hey, we would donate to that effort, but was CSA thinking about that expenditure as well?
Just an update on your first comment on the beach matting. We have engaged our permit applicator to obtain the necessary permit to do beach matting. It used to be allowable without any permitting, and then recently the word from OCRM was they are no longer allowing it, and the most current information is that they will allow it, but it requires a major special permit that will take some weeks to secure. So we have begun that process, and just wanted you to know that the hold is not on getting the material or putting the material down, it's getting the state required permit to do so. On your second point on the lift for the wheelchair, Charlie Miner had recently brought that up as well, and that is something that we're certainly willing to consider and are in the early stages of exploring. But it is just recently come up, and I think one of the reasons is that at Tower Beach specifically, that the town completed beach renourishment independent of and prior to Hurricane Matthew. And if you recall, at Tower Beach, we have two boardwalks there that were the first fully 6 foot wide, gentle grade, as gentle as we could make them, accesses to the beach in Sea Pines. And they ended where they needed to end, very close to the wet beach. Well, then the town came in and did the much needed and appreciated renourishment, but as you know now, there is 150 feet plus of a shelf that has to be traversed when you get to the end of the boardwalk. So these are some new challenges that we're facing in this post-renourishment setting, but we are looking at both of those.
Thank you.
As I see people kind of gently, quietly exiting before we have a mass exit, I would like to just take maybe 2 more questions, and then we will call it quits. Somebody that hasn't spoken? This gentleman.
Could you give us an update on the purchase of the building off of Greenwood Drive outside the gate?
Do you want to speak to that?
As far as, I was in Florida last week, but the last I heard, plenty of money.
It's here.
To the best of my knowledge, we are scheduled to close on that facility Friday, the 9th of February, I believe it is, going forward. So we anticipate once that closure occurs, the plan is to provide information to the public as to what we paid and any possible uses, because it's got a lot of options of how we could possibly use that facility. The number one primary purpose of that, however, is to minimize the congestion at our gate, which is the number one property owner complaint of selling passes at the gate. It was suggested that we go off-site to sell those passes. We have been looking for sites that would provide that to us. This facility became available. Just for your information, part of the reason that we also wanted to pursue that building, when it was originally placed on the market, the plans for that building were a 40,000 square foot entertainment center. 4 stories, restaurants, and an awful lot of parking issues and traffic congestion. We looked at purchasing the gallery as a means to stop that type of activity outside of our gates, and that we would possibly be able to set up a plan by purchasing all passes into the Sea Pines area, all of your passes that you call in for your friends who are coming to visit you. Instead of going to the resort to pick up a pass, they would go into that facility. That is what we are planning for. No transactions will be occurring at the gate. If you miss that welcome center, that new pass center, you will be turned around and sent back out to that facility. So when you approach the gates of Sea Pines with the proper documents on your dashboard or on your windshield, this is what you will get. There will be no transactions at the gate, and we plan on closing that on February the 9th.
Thank you, Michael. Is there anybody that has not had a chance to speak? Yes, sir. This will be our last question.
I believe that what we're going through is trying to get easements and agreements with Publix, and I think that is due by the 9th, and I think closing would be closer to the end of the month. So there's still some time here, and there's still some due diligence and other issues that need to be resolved.
How's it being financed, the purchase?
Excuse me?
How's the purchase being financed?
Right now, the finance will be done via the cash that has been collected from assessments, because we have the excess cash. To the extent that those assessments are generally for expenditures throughout the year, to the extent that we do not raise revenues, will be coming from our investment fund, from the essentially the designated capital infrastructure fund.
Thank you, David. I would like to thank you once again for coming, for asking questions so that we know what's on your mind. Our staff will hang around for a bit. If you didn't get to ask your question, please approach them. I did say earlier that we do like to get phone calls, so please give us a call if you have a question. We will respond. Thank you again for coming.